All right, we're live. Welcome, everybody. Nithyanandam, thank you for tuning in. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this as a recording, much appreciated. It is Saturday, 11 a.m. here in Los Angeles, and this is, I think, week 4 of going live on Saturday mornings. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been great getting to chat with people that are subscribed to this channel, do some Q&A, open up a little bit about my story and be a little bit more personable with what's happening in my life as well. But really also what the main point of this channel is enriching about various different yogic techniques, different types of paths, philosophies, etc. And then a lot of that, how I'm tying all of this together ultimately is through my own experiences, which are known as Sakshi pramanas. And so I wanted to start this video off today before jumping into Q&A and everything like that to talk a little bit about that exactly, Sakshi pramanas, having a personal experience of something and the importance of that, especially right now when you see anybody anywhere in the world, because they have a cell phone, they have access to the internet, they can be positioned as an influencer in the spiritual community. They can be seen as a teacher, etc. And I think one really interesting thing that's happened over the past week was, if you don't know who Jay Shetty is, he was kind of caught faking a lot of his material. And I thought that was an interesting concept, and I actually did a video on it. I haven't posted it yet, but I'm glad I'm actually talking about this now before I post that video. But basically, so what happened with Jay Shetty is he's basically taking quotes from other people such as Tony Robbins. I mean, like the list goes on. Really, I don't know all the names, but what he did was he basically would just remove one word, or sometimes he wouldn't remove anything, and then he would put his name at the bottom and say this, this is a Jay Shetty quote. And I thought, I mean, one aspect within me is like, wow, nice job, like that's smart, But that's coming from an individual within me that is far in the past now, because I'm very open about this. In college, I talked a little bit about how I cheated and basically did the same thing, and stealing people's content, etc. was nothing new to me either. And so I see a lot of what's happening with Jay Shetty just as a reflection of myself, and working towards making sure that I'm not doing these things anymore either. And so I thought, what a great opportunity to start talking about that and let everybody know the importance of who you're following and why we need to be making sure that we're following somebody that is authentic and completely authentic. So with that being said, I just want to say, hey, what's up, everybody? I saw a few what's ups there. I'm just going to pull up my YouTube as well, just because the problem with going live is on my phone, I've only got this little bar, and then all your comments disappear right away. So I'm actually going to be moving forward. I'm going to start doing some streams using OBS system, so I can actually be more engaged with everybody and be on top of speaking to you all and answering all your questions. So I'm trying some different things here with that, and today I zoomed in. You got more of a close up with my face, so hopefully it's not scaring you away a little bit. But we're trying some different things here. So Mika, hey, how are you? Nithyanandam, who else we got here? 2+, how you doing? Mac, my friend Jordan Price wears shin pads in the bath. What's your opinion on this? That's interesting. He's got a major fear pattern that he needs to be working on. Alberto, Nithyanandam, how are you, my friend? It's been great chatting on Instagram. Kayla, hey, what's up? Thank you for taking time to let us know about Mahavakya. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. Yes, no problem, Sumit. I'm glad that you're benefiting from it. Are you chanting it continuously? Because every time I get an opportunity, I'm just putting Mahavakya on in the background, and I'm just kind of enjoying the vibrations myself. So even if you don't know how to chant it, or if you're new to Mahavakya, you have no idea what it is, definitely just have it going on the background. Awesome, Sumit. That's great. Primos, how are you? Follow yourself. You are authentic. You are your own guru, love and light. I appreciate that. Ultimately, though, deep down within me, everything outside of us is a reflection, right? So, Swamiji, my guru, he's a reflection within me as well. So, my inner guidance, my inner light is Swamiji. And I know it's nothing else. It's not me, it's him. Everything is me. When I see something or anything outside of me, ultimately, I always come back to, okay, that's me. That's a reflection of me. Swamiji is a reflection of me. He's my highest possibility. That is within me. And so when I connect to that inner light and love that you're talking about, I'm connecting to my guru, and that's my guidance. But absolutely, I love where you're coming from. Gaja, Mandala, Nithyanandam, how are you? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Sumit, yes, I know, I heard you say that. Yeah, awesome. I'm off to Bidity soon. Thanks for time and teachings. Awesome, Sumit. So excited. If you're going to Bidity, you are the most blessed being on the planet. That's for sure, without a doubt. So I want to jump in quickly into the importance of pramana and really what is this meaning, or what's this word, and why, if you're following anybody, any spiritual teacher, guru, etc., understanding, namaste, Del, Nityanandam, if you're following anybody that is on social media that is a spiritual teacher, I want to say first and foremost, I mean, odds are they're coming from the right context, which is to enrich others and to be in that space of enriching others, which is extremely important. Now, that being said, there's more that comes with that. Sakshi Pramana, my personal experience, can only go so far. I can only talk so much about something that I've experienced, but ultimately there's no way for you to actually understand if this is authentic teaching or not, unless you can align it to other sources, to other source scriptures, to other, teachings that other people are saying. That's the only thing that we're going to really know for how to move ahead in our path. And so what you need to do is have your first experience, but let's take a second and see how is this reflecting in the world as well. So what I mean by this is Eckhart Tolle. He was one of my favorite spiritual teachers when I was first going through my awakening. And maybe he is for you as well. And I have nothing against Eckhart. I love him. I'm going to be using him as a good example. But so he's had this experience of enlightenment, and his teachings are extremely profound. And in his books, a lot of times he's talking a little bit about different references, like things that Buddha said or other enlightened masters have said. So he's aligning the dots in a sense, right? Unless you're learning something that can be connected to another dot, to another enlightened being that's come before, that's also experienced this higher state of consciousness, intense beam of energy, unless you can actually connect the dot to another dot, then you're very limited on whether you can authenticate the teaching of it, right? Otherwise, this is how cults are formed. Ultimately, one person just rises up and says, I'm this great master, etc., and I can do all these things. But unless they're actually saying, and this is where I'm learning all of this from, etc., there's no way of justifying whether this is an authentic teacher or not. And so this is the importance of pramana. And so the first one that I've been talking about is Sakshi Pramana, having your own experience of something, which is, and we've all probably had our own powerful spiritual experiences, but unless you can align that to something else, to a teaching above, which is known as an Atma Pramana, which is somebody that is enlightened. So Eckhart Tolle, he could be an Atma Pramana, for instance. Various different gurus, enlightened beings, their teachings are Atma Pramanas. So if you're following somebody on social media and they're saying something profound, like you can eat meat and still awaken your Kundalini, red flag goes up in my eyes, right? And so I want to learn, okay, maybe that worked for him. Maybe that's their Sakshi Pramana and that's their truth. But that does not mean that truth is completely truthful for everybody else. So we need to find ways to reference this and make sure that this is something that I could be doing as well. That's how you discover the science. Basically, this is what my guru is calling this an acid wash. You're acid washing all of these different teachings. So if you find an enlightened being that has a teaching that aligns to, oh, you can eat meat and still awaken your kundalini, then you can say, okay, this passes the test. Now, still, there's more ways to strip down something to make sure that this is a really authentic teaching. And the next level is apta pramana. Apta pramana meaning it's coming from not just an enlightened being, but an enlightened sage or an avatar coming from, thousands of years ago, or in today's experience for me, which is through Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, as an avatar, as an authentic, like the most holy scripture you could find, basically. One example of this is the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita involving Krishna, he is a living avatar. Okay, so he is not just some enlightened being, he's a reincarnation. He's taken multiple births, and basically, if you want to just get cut to the chase, the truths that he drops in the Bhagavad Gita are so deep, so powerful, so profound. When you can take those truths and align them to somebody that's, let's say, a guru in this lifetime, and then from there, you have your own experience. That's 3 levels of making sure that something is authentic. Like this is an authentic teaching. So for instance, if Krishna is saying that you should not be consuming meat and kundalini will be awakened, and then you meet some guru online that's saying you should not eat meat and your kundalini will be awakened, and then I have this experience of stopping eating meat and then having my kundalini awakened, boom. 3 levels of acid washing a spiritual truth. So when you're following somebody online, and I'm not calling out Jay Shetty or anybody else right now, I'm just, as I said before, it was a good opportunity to start bringing up this topic. But if you're following somebody and they're saying something, they should be held accountable for what they're saying. And the way that you can find if it's a truth or not is by going to these various different levels, which is, yes, you might have your own experience, sakshi pramana. You might find an enlightened master teaching something, which is an atma pramana. And then if you find an avatar such as Krishna, such as some of my teachings of my guru today, the apta pramana, if those are aligned, then you're on the right path. Now there's an ultimate source of knowledge though, and an ultimate way of finding what the truths are of anything. And that is the shastra pramanas, which is coming from various different scriptures such as the Upanishads, the Vedagamas. One of the oldest texts on the planet, for instance, is the Rig Veda. The first time that we hear about the word yoga is in the Rig Veda. This text that's 5,000 plus years old that we know of. And, it goes so much longer beyond that. When you actually read the text, you can tell that it just happens to be on paper 5,000 years ago, but it goes much further beyond that. So with that understanding, the Rig Veda, the first time that yoga is taught, right? When we learn of yoga today, we're not necessarily understanding yoga as per the first time it was ever brought up. Somebody might be on Instagram today talking about, hey, they're having a yoga class and it's a beer yoga session. This is where the waters get muddy. How do you know that this is an authentic form of yoga? Well, obviously we know it's not because it's beer yoga, but just for example, we'll continue with the beer yoga example. If we're following this person on social media and they say they have a beer yoga class and they're like, no, this is real, like I've had an experience. Okay, they've had their own sakshi pramana. They've had their own powerful experience during this yoga class. Now, that may be their truth and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing, like, all the power to them. However, there's a lot of different scriptures and texts saying you shouldn't be consuming alcohol and performing yoga. And these are what we call the Atma Pramanas. So you listen to an enlightened guru, like for instance, Hatha Yoga Pradipika or the Jabala Rudraksha Upanishad. These various different texts are talking about making sure that you avoid intoxicants. So you're not consuming any alcohols. So therefore, if somebody's practicing beer yoga, all we have to do is give one level of an acid wash, with an Atma pramana from an enlightened master that's come before us, and we can discover, okay, this isn't an authentic teaching. We shouldn't be practicing beer yoga. Now, for some reason, there is an enlightened master that says, yeah, like you can drink alcohol and experience yoga. If this is the case, then we go to the next level and we can try and find an apta pramana and find an avatar speaking on that you can consume intoxicants and still perform yoga. Now, I can't say that I found any scriptural reference for either an atma or apta pramana for this example of drinking alcohol and performing yoga. Hypothetically though, let's say we did. Then we could go to the final level teaching or the final level acid wash, which is, anybody know? Shastra pramana, right? The shastra pramana is coming from those ancient scriptures such as the Rig Veda, Upanishads, etc., the Vedagamas. Now, these scriptures, they are saying like the original form of yoga. Like this is yoga. Rig Veda is talking about what the yoga is. All the truth of what yoga is. And it's not even known as Ashtanga yoga, it's a Shashtanga yoga. It's a 6 limbs of yoga. Now, I don't want to get too far off track, but ultimately we can filter and acid wash each teaching that we learn of by going to different source scriptures, by going to different gurus, going to different layers of discovering what a truth is. So I hope I described that nicely. I really wanted to at least touch base on the importance of finding a teacher that is aligned to the scriptures. And ultimately, that could mean to an enlightened yogi that has written, for instance, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It could be to somebody such as my guru, a living avatar, or it could be strictly to the Vedagamas, which are written by Paramashiva. And I'll touch base on that real quick as well before we jump into Q&As. I see a few people posting. I appreciate that, guys. But the Paramashiva, the creator of the cosmos, it's pretty bold to say like he wrote these scriptures that are 5,000 years old. So how did that happen? There's ancient rishis and seers. These are individuals that they claim to have just seen these texts. They don't claim themselves as the author, but rather that's why they're called seers, these rishis. They're seers. They saw the scriptures in front of them and they wrote them down. Now, if you were to look and read what they wrote down, it's extremely profound that this is coming from a very high state of consciousness. And if they're not claiming it as their own, and they're claiming it as Paramashiva, as Shiva, the creator of the cosmos, that is the source that the scriptures are coming from. So the creator of the cosmos created yoga and spoke to us about yoga as early as the Rig Veda. And these forms of yoga, these teachings of yoga, everything that follows today is just getting more and more watered down unless you find a teacher that is connecting the dots again and again to that source, to those source scriptures, whether it's the Rig Veda, whether it's a rishi that practiced that form of yoga and said, yeah, like I got enlightened because of these teachings, or it's one of their disciples, another enlightened being that practiced Hatha Yoga, for instance, and said, yeah, I learned from this rishi and this rishi learned from these scriptures. And then you can have your own experience. So you can have an experience of, enlightenment, for instance, and say, I got that because I was practicing from this Atma Pramana. I learned it from this enlightened being, this text. And then I learned that this person learned it from, Krishna. And I learned that, Krishna, his teachings are completely aligned to the Rig Veda. So that's how all of these dots can connect, and that's how you can acid wash whether, this person on Instagram is teaching something that's authentic or not. And I've said Instagram a few times. I have nothing wrong. Like I'm not throwing darts at people on Instagram or anything. But again, this is just the importance of finding an authentic practice and something and a method for you to decipher whether something is a truth or not, whether it's something that you want to practice or not. just going through those 4 layers of pramanas. So with that being said, I wanted to quickly jump into how to bolt enlightenment into your system. And I thought, what better way to teach that after talking about this than to talk about one of the recent satsangs that I came across with my guru. Enlightenment is it's an experience, to say the least. I'm not saying it's bolted into my system right now, but I know the method and I have experienced it in my system. And the method itself is Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is a method to bolt enlightenment, because enlightenment there's a DNA to it. There's a certain DNA structure for you to carry and radiate that space and that state, right? How it happens is through building the body and the consciousness. So in Sanatana Hindu Dharma, there's no such thing as mind. You only have body and consciousness. So you need to be working on the two. You need to be working on body, and you need to be working on consciousness. Working on the body is a way of like reverse engineering enlightenment. For instance, when you took this birth, you came down from the space of cosmic consciousness and you landed inside this body. Once you got into this body, you had a hardwired system. You have to function in this body, right? Like this is my body for this life, right? And this body is built out of DNA, right? The DNA is the blueprint for this physical structure. So your consciousness has to abide by the rules of your DNA until you get to a point where you understand that consciousness actually controls DNA as well. And this is what epigenetics is. If you don't know what epigenetics is, it's basically the fact that you control your genes. Before modern science thought that we were just imprisoned by our genes. If you had skin cancer that runs in your family, then you have no choice but to just get skin cancer. This isn't the case, right? Epigenetics is now showing us that you can override your genes. You can override your DNA. And the way to do that is with your consciousness. And not to say that your consciousness is here, but with your consciousness. This is how you bolt enlightenment into your system. Continuously aligning yourself to the space of enlightenment, which what my guru is telling all of his disciples is Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. So this is the Mahavakya, being in that space of eternal bliss. Your consciousness, understanding and cognizing the importance of, not the importance of, but who you truly are is this eternally blissful divine being. That's who we all are. We're cosmic consciousness. Now, with that understanding, with that cognition, I'm going to be moving my body in this way to manifest that state and that space. That is what bolting or hardwiring your system for enlightenment is. That is what Hatha Yoga is. It's not about developing a big body and getting in really good shape. Those are byproducts of moving the body, but it's the intention of which you move which is so important. Understanding and setting the sankalpa that I am Paramashiva, I am going to manifest that state and that space and radiate that being. And with that understanding, with that cognition, with that sankalpa, the intention, I'm going to move forward in this practice and I'm going to manifest that state. That is overriding the system. That is epigenetics as Hatha Yoga. That is the yoga epigenetics that you can be practicing. Making sure that you move your body with this understanding, and yes, moving it with the embracing that state that I am Paramashiva. I am the divine. Now with this understanding, I'm going to move the body. I'll extend my arms. I'll practice various asanas. Hatha Yoga is the science of bolting enlightenment into your system. No doubt about that. Everybody that's here so far, I just want to say thank you so much. I wanted to give you one quick technique that my guru has given to his disciples on how you can experience or breathe in the space of prana, and then we can jump into some Q&A. So if you want to know how you can breathe prana and why you want to breathe prana, well, prana is the life force energy, right? Hatha yoga is all about ultimately making sure that we're downloading and operating from this space of prana, life energy. You see, hundreds and thousands of yogis roaming India that don't even eat. They don't drink. And how are they able to do it? It's because they're living off of that life force energy, which is divine conscious energy ultimately. So if you're wanting to bolt enlightenment into your system, you're bolting cosmic consciousness into your system. That cosmic consciousness, it's almost like the essence or the flavor of it is prana. And so if you're established in that state, prana, you don't even need to breathe. Prana flows in and out of your body perfectly, and there's no blockages, etc. There's no impurities within your body that are stopping you from experiencing that. Now there's one technique that you can do to breathe in prana at any time, and that is breathing in bliss. Bliss is the flavor of prana. So if you want to experience prana, experience bliss. And it's simple. It's like at any point during your day, if you're wanting just to have more energy. I see a lot of people asking me about pre-workout. If you don't work out or exercise, there's something called pre-workout. It's a powder that you mix into your drinks and you take it right before your workout, and all of a sudden you're more energized and you're ready to work out. Pre-workout is bliss. If you really want the ultimate pre-workout, if you want to get excited about something, if you want to get encouraged, anything, if you want to just experience joy, breathing in prana, and how you breathe in prana, there's various different methods, but one technique is to breathe in bliss, and that's all it is. So let's take 2 breaths of bliss today. We'll do that right now together, so you can understand that prana is a choice to be absorbing at all times. It's a conscious decision. And when you do make that decision, you're going to feel more energy, you're going to feel more connected to the divine, and you're going to just feel more powerful and overall blissful and joyful, because prana is bliss. It has this life energy that is unlike anything. So let's take a moment. If you're here and you've been watching me thus far, just take a few moments, sit down. If you're watching this as a recorded, pause the video until you can sit down. And all we're going to do is make sure your head, neck, and spine is in a straight line. Close your eyes, relax, and you're going to take one really deep inhale. And as you inhale, I just want you to imagine how, like, it being the best inhalation of your life, because you're feeling just so much love and joy and bliss just from breathing in that oxygen. Gratitude, however you want to label it, but I want you to really not cognize, but experience that feeling. Okay, so a deep inhalation of bliss. Hold your breath and just let that feel good for a second, and then exhale out of your mouth, nice and slow. Feel the bliss exhaling out of your mouth as well. And then one more shot of bliss, okay? Deep inhalation. All the way, and hold. And then exhale out bliss as well. Just feel love, gratitude, joy. Feel those emotions. Bonus inhale one more time through the nose, all the way. And exhale. This is the space of Nithyananda, eternal bliss. You can open up your eyes. There's no words There's no words for that. If you did it with me, you should have had just an experience of anything that's happened so far today, anything that's happened throughout your week. Nothing all of a sudden is relevant. The future is irrelevant. You're in that space of just being with you and enjoying that moment, which is blissful. That is the space where you're just downloading so much prana. Because when the mind is not active, that's ultimately the only time where prana can be absorbed. But if you're focused and concentrating on the bliss, that's a way of biohacking and getting the prana into your system as well. And again, ultimately, all of this is a form of hatha yoga, which is bolting enlightenment into your system. So with that, we can jump in some Q&A. I thought actually one story. My guru actually brought this up the other day. There was a story from Ramakrishna, and he was talking to one of his disciples about joy and how to experience joy. So if you want to experience joy, understand this. There was a dog that was given this bone. And this dog goes and he just starts cramming down on this bone, and he's chewing away. He's enjoying the bone. But there was no blood. There was nothing coming from the bone. But the dog was really enjoying the taste. It was really enjoying the bone itself. And it wasn't because of the bone, though. It wasn't the flesh or anything that was on the bone. It was the teeth. As the dog was digging into the bone, his own teeth was cutting his gums. The bone was cutting his gums. And so the taste that he was experiencing within him, the flesh, the blood, it wasn't from the bone. It was from himself. This happens all the time, and we perceive this as joy. So when you see something outside of you, imagine it as just an individual, and the best way to describe this is through relationships. But if you see an individual outside of you and you perceive that you're getting joy from them, they are a bone. They are just a bone, and you're the dog trying to get joy from that being, from that person, from that experience. But remember that the joy is always coming from within. You choose how you obtain the joy, when you obtain the joy, how much joy you obtain. It's all coming from within. And anytime that we perceive joy and experience it as something outside of us, this is a delusion. This is the Maya. Understanding that if you ever want to experience joy, nothing outside matters. Always remember that it's coming from within, and you will always be in a space of joy. You can always be in a space of Nithyananda, eternal bliss, when you remember that what's happening outside of you isn't the reality. It isn't the truth. Joy is coming from within. It is something to experience within. So I just thought that was an incredible story from Ramakrishna. My guru had brought it up in a recent satsang, and I thought, man, that is so authentic. It's so deep. It's so true. And my guru ended up saying, as me, I'm a grihastha. I'm not a sannyasi. I'm not living as a monk in India. My wife and I, we did live in India with all these monks, and it was absolutely incredible. But as a grihastha, what Swamiji had said was, the only way to be a true grihastha is to understand that there is no relationship. There is no bone. There is no other. The love that I experience for my wife, it's nothing that she is doing. There's nothing that she can do for me to experience this love. There's nothing that you could do for me to not love you, for me to not experience more love within me. The love, the bliss, the joy is all from within. So just remember that and understand you are the divine. You are Paramashiva. There's nothing anybody else can do to take you out of that state, out of that space. It's only a conscious decision for you to retract and bring yourself out of that space. So with that said, I will finish my rant for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. If you did and you enjoyed, please let me know in the comments section down below if this was something that you want to see more of, if it's something that you have any questions specifically on something that I brought up. I would love to hear about that all. So if you're here for live Q&A, if you're here just to hang out, we got some time now to chat and hear more about your guys' story and see how I can help you out as well. So let me dive into the comments section. Lokura, for sure I want more. Awesome. I'm excited about that. I'm glad to hear that. Hare Krishna, yes. Happy Jain Masti. Allison, how do you explain this to someone who might compare it to the Bible? Yeah, I thought that was a really good that's a great question. I had the same thought before recording this video. How can I explain that? I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would perceive Jesus, I know people, put him as if he is God, or I'm not a Christian or anything like that, so I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but my perception is that Jesus would be like a Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. There's still a higher source to Jesus or to Krishna. And so if you're wanting to authenticate Jesus' teachings, there is no source scripture that can go beyond him. Like, what if he was the ultimate cult leader? That's technically what you could ask. There's no way of making sure that his teachings are real. If you want, ultimately you could say everyone, even Hinduism is a cult, but it'd be the world's longest, most advanced cult ever designed. But it would make sense if somebody, I'm not even going to go into that. But basically, the way to understand that for me is that Jesus' teachings or the Bible would at most be an apta pramana, and there would still be one more source above, which would be the shastra pramana. The Rig Veda, for instance, it's 3,500 years older than when Jesus was born. So it's just the proof that, we connected to the divine before Jesus came. There was a system in place before Jesus came. So at most, Jesus' teachings would be an apta pramana. I don't know if that helps you describe or teach that to other people that are trying to learn whether, how to teach this to Christians. But that would be kind of how I would perceive it and explain it, I think. Ark, I eat vegan. I start with hard taki. I really feel good, but I don't look manifest powers. Can you help me? Have manifest Shaktis? I need Shaktipad. Can I manifest Shaktis now? Yes, anybody that's interested in manifesting powers, I highly recommend joining in on the Kailash Courtyard Manifesting Power sessions. Anybody from anywhere in the world can join in. There's a Google form. I'll post it after I post this video. I'll post the Google form in the description down below. So all you have to do is just go to the link. You put in a few basic pieces of information, and then you can join in on those sessions. How they are conducted is via Zoom. So you can log in from anywhere you are in the world, and the sessions are being hosted from India in the courtyard where my guru first downloaded this science into his balasants and his closest disciples. And you can actually experience those powers and those sessions there. If you're not expressing the powers, you got to get in the right ecosystem first, and that is the ecosystem for it to happen. So I'll put that link in the description down below if you're interested in manifesting powers, manifesting Shaktis. And just to touch base on that, actually, what differentiates these powers from siddhis? A lot of people, they refer to siddhis or powers as a distraction on the path of enlightenment, where my guru is like, okay, that may be true, but why not get to the space where you first manifest the powers, manifest that state, and then you can make that decision that I no longer want these. And ultimately, what we're doing isn't actually even siddhis. They're shaktis. So they come from the space of oneness. Whereas siddhis, they're not coming or being expressed from the space of oneness. So a shakti is actually helping you on the path to enlightenment. So this isn't about building ego that, oh, I can, manifest the power of third eye. It's not about that at all. It's actually about you connecting to Paramashiva, being in that space of oneness, dropping the ego entirely, opening yourself out and letting yourself be a conduit for Paramashiva, and then from that state and space, allowing the power to manifest outwards through the body. And sometimes it's not even through you, right? And ultimately, it's not even you doing it. It's Paramashiva. It's my guru manifesting through us. Therefore, ego is not at all involved, and you can completely be in a space of oneness, of enlightenment. So again, Kailash Courtyard Sessions, I'll put that link in the description down below. Priscilla, Nithyananda, if you want to acquire Harataki, I'll put a link in the description for that too. Harataki is absolutely amazing. If you don't know what it is, I'm not going to jump into that, but there's a video in my playlist that you can watch as well. I'll maybe share that in the description. Oh man, I'm just thinking right now, I need to make notes because I'm putting a lot of things in the description box. I need to make sure I remember them, but I'll put a link in the description box below. All I know is, or all I want to say with Harataki is, excuse me, with Harataki, you just want to be careful where you source it from. Because with Harataki, there's actually the seed itself, if it gets ground up into the bulk of the powder, it's actually toxic. It's not good for you. So you want to avoid certain, or you want to at least make sure that whatever you're sourcing, wherever you're sourcing Harataki from, that it is a quality source. What I always direct people to is harataki.org, because their source provides Harataki for a number of different ashrams in India. This I know of. So it's a quality source to be purchasing from. If you wait a second, I would appreciate it, because I actually do have an affiliate link with that. So if you do buy something from there, if you go through my link, I'll get like a whopping $2 for that. So I would appreciate the $2. No, but you can go directly right away if you want, harataki.org. Yeah, I'll put in the description a Harataki affiliate link that you can follow along to as well. KNZ, can you let us know what are the after experiences or life changes of third eye awakening? Well, right away, you're gonna feel more intuitive. I'm never gonna forget, as soon as I came back from my first inner awakening, which is the 21-day yoga meditation program from my guru, I can't remember the first day, but when I first got back, my intuition was just on a next level. Like there was no comparison before I had left. And then that meant whether it was like I'd walk into a room and I'd just be like, spider, and I'd look up, spider ahead of me. Like everything was so clear to me, whether it was in that exact moment or something that I just had a third eye vision of that would happen later on in the week. You'll start having more intuitive experiences. Now the key though is to actually start playing with the third eye and start manifesting and creating. So rather than when I first came back, it was more of like just I was moving around and then I'd get a bing, oh, third eye bing, something's happening. Rather than being that observer state, be in the controller seat, be in a state where I'm gonna manifest this power. I'm gonna create a space for something to happen. I want to manifest this type of experience. If you start playing with it, then you'll have the understanding that, okay, this is real. You can't take this away from me. I know that my third eye is awakened. Only when you start playing with it, because you might not be getting those bings, I gotta coin that, the third eye bing, ding. Unless you're getting those experiences, really be in that space of creating things with your third eye. And so one way to do that is always sitting down, getting into a meditative space, connecting to, if you have a guru, however you connect to the divine, bringing that state into your third eye, visualizing what it is that you want, sending that off into the universe, and leaving it with powerfulness. So, soham asmi. We're not talking about, I'm hoping this happens and I pray that this happens because it's out of my control. No, you are the divine. You make this happen. That is the space that you're coming from. You are already in oneness with Paramashiva, with the cosmos. Anything that you want, you're from that one space of oneness, it will happen. That's how you use the power of third eye. Arjun, you are vibrating with more and more bliss, brother. Thanks, Arjun. I appreciate that. You're a good friend, brother. Drew, by Hatha Yoga, do you mean physical movements or meditation or breathing, mantras, etc.? Every time I try to do yoga, I get lost in so many varieties and versions. Give one sample exercise, please. Awesome, Drew. Yeah. So one sample of Hatha Yoga is Nithyananda Yoga, Pratama Vinyasa Krama. Because when you're talking about Hatha Yoga, you're not just talking about asanas. This is actually, sorry, my cable got caught there. This is one of those practices, much like yoga in general, in the West, we perceive it as just asana. But there's actually 12 components that should be involved in every yoga practice. And that ranges from bandhas, mudras, pranayamas, of course, asanas, visualizations. So there's a lot of different components that the modern day yoga practice is missing out on. And so Hatha Yoga does not just mean asana, but we can cognize it mostly starting from there, just because we are so physical and we kind of do have this ingrained idea that yoga is moving the body, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we just need to embrace that and then embrace the other reality of it. So first and foremost, understanding that Hatha Yoga, yes, you can move the physical body, but how you breathe, the bandhas that you engage, the pattern of how you're visualizing throughout the sequence, all of these different components are Hatha Yoga as well. They aren't brought to light in the Western world yet. However, this is exactly what my guru is doing through Nithyananda Yoga. So Nithyananda Yoga it's not this new form of yoga, it's the original yoga. It is yoga as per the shastra pramanas, which is the scriptures such as the Rig Veda, the first time yoga is ever mentioned. My guru's form of yoga, Nithyananda Yoga, is based off of that. And then it's based off of apta pramanas as well, such as what Krishna is teaching. What is my guru also teaching? And then it's based off of Atma Pramanas. What have other enlightened beings experienced, such as Svatmarama, who wrote the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And then it's based off of Sakshi Pramanas, so my experience. So here I am today saying I experienced third eye awakening, I experienced Kundalini awakening, I experienced this euphoric state of bliss from practicing this form of yoga. That is how I can say that this yoga, this Nithyananda Yoga is authentic. It is the truth for me, and I can justify it in a sense by it. Look, it's aligned to the most highest scriptures, as the foremost scriptures of yoga, and to what those rishis, those sages, those enlightened beings, to what my guru, to what he is teaching as well. So everything is making sense, everything is aligned. That's how you can really truly understand that this is the most authentic form of Hatha Yoga available today. A lot of people love Kundalini Yoga. They feel it's the most authentic, and to be honest, it is probably the most authentic mainstream form of yoga in the West, but it doesn't mean that it is the most authentic form of yoga that is available on the planet. And that is changing. Nithyananda Yoga is enriching the world with these teachings and with all these various different scriptures. And so if you want to experience Hatha Yoga at its peak, that is Nithyananda Yoga, and I'll put a link in the description so you can learn more about all the various different components, because as I said, there's 12 different ones, and I'm not going to dive into each one today. But, oh man, I just said I'm going to put another link in the description. Okay, in the description, 12 dimensions of yoga will be there as well. So that was a good question. Thank you for asking that. That was Drew. Gaja, thank you for this. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out. Hansarojo, I cannot go to India. My parents think I'm crazy. Can you do Third Eye Awakening online by any chance? Yeah, you can follow a oneness capsule. So I'm not going to put this description, I'm not going to put this in the description below, but if you just go to YouTube and type oneness capsule, odds are a video of my guru will come up. If you just watch any oneness capsule, it actually is a method for you to awaken Kundalini and third eye. He's awakened 10,000 third eyes via two-way video conferencing. He did this 2 years ago. So he just saw people via two-way video conferencing and awoke their third eyes. So he didn't have to physically do the awakening. And now today, he has disciples that are awakening the third eye. And then beyond that, there is also a way to awaken third eye through just watching him awaken other people's third eyes. That's how next level my guru is. So if you want to experience third eye awakening, you don't need to actually go to any program or anything like that. You just watch one oneness capsule, your third eye will be awakened. Now, as I said though, recently, you have to start expressing that power, expressing that state. The best way to do that is join the Kailash Courtyard sessions. I always compare this to building muscle. You know, you can't build muscle on your body unless you're using the muscle. Same thing, you have to use your third eye. Kami G Yoga, Nithyananda, I'm loving the touched up Jettas, bro, Shiva styling. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I look a little bit cleaner, a little bit more handsome, eh? No, it's nicer definitely having my Jettas touched up. They get a little bit scraggly and loose. If you watched my recent Jetta video, they kind of get all over the place sometimes, so it's nice to have them cleaned up. I definitely like the way I look too. Not that I didn't like the way I looked before, but I just feel like I look a little bit cleaner and more presentable as a yogi. So thank you, I appreciate that. Yes, Del, we were talking about third eye before. Del, I've been experiencing for about a year lightheadedness with euphoria. If it's strong, I need to sit down or pass out. At the same time, I see crystalline shapes. Okay, so if you're experiencing lightheadedness, I would have to be doing a lot of different background questions regarding this. Like, this could be anything. It depends on how much you are actually trying to use your third eye or what you are doing exactly. And so to answer this straight up would be kind of tough and say, this is the answer for everybody and for you as well. That being said, I would encourage you to be more present and more aware with when it happens. And maybe you already are. But if this is happening for somebody else, if you find that you're getting lightheadedness or dizziness, really trying to find that source. And each time that it happens, use it as an opportunity to go deeper within yourself. So anytime you're experiencing something within your physical body, and that could be stress, it could be from an intense training session, whenever you're experiencing something in the body, dive into it. So if you're feeling pain, don't run away from it. Look into the pain. Find its source. Seek it. Ask to find this source. And if you haven't, there's nothing wrong with that. But your seeking is what's going to open it up. So whatever questions you have about what's going on with my body, excuse me, I'm just going to grab a drink here. So if you're ever wondering why am I having this experience, why does this happen to me, why am I feeling pain, dive into that. Ask yourself the question and seek the answer within. That's always, always, always the first thing to do. Your third eye will show you the answer, but I can't say that whatever's happening within you, for you that's asking this, Del, specifically, I can't say that what you're experiencing is because of your third eye. There could be a various amount of reasons for this, but if you want to find the source for anything within your body, dive deep into it, into the experience. Okay, whether it feels painful, joyful, anything, it doesn't matter. Don't label it. Dive into it, seek out, and find that space where its source is. And that'll open and flourish whenever it's ready. It might happen right away, or it might take some time. It might take like 5 times of passing out. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But let's say it might take a few different times of you actually just diving in and continuously deciding to turn the flashlight on and look. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to find the problem. I'm going to find the source for this. And that's how it'll open up to you. Cami, has 308, 508, and 1008 asana sequence been revealed yet? Has not yet officially been announced, but be on the lookout. That has been something that's been on the what's the word I'm looking for? The rise for a little bit of time, so I'm excited for that too. Alberto, anyone who has chronic condition can have Kundalini awakening. Kundalini awakening is your birthright. So whatever experience you're having with your body, Kundalini awakening is only going to help it. It's like the plug-in into the matrix. You know, like if you want unlimited fuel, you plug into Kundalini awakening. If you're suffering from chronic, illnesses or anything within the body, you plug into Kundalini awakening. You're plugging into that eternal life energy. You're plugging into an eternal healing energy. And as I said, this is your birthright. This is not something that you have to earn or deserve, etc. You just need to seek it out. And that only happens when somebody's ready for it. So you can't force somebody's Kundalini open, but if they're on the path of seeking and they've gotten to a point in their journey where they're feeling that they want their Kundalini awakened, then they're definitely in that space where they're ready to have it opened. Now, if somebody has chronic illnesses and you had the power, for instance, to awaken their Kundalini, then that could cause problems. And that's what you would want to avoid. But as I said, Kundalini awakening is your birthright. So all you have to do is seek out a guru to have that done. And, there's various different scriptures that talk about a guru is the one to do it. And my favorite is the Kundalini is like a snake coiled at the base of the spine. And all you have to do is get a stick and whack it, and the snake will stand up and the Kundalini is awakened. The guru is holding the stick. Just let the guru whack the snake and it'll stand up and it'll be awakened. So whether you have a chronic illness or anything that you're wanting to do with your spiritual journey, as long as you have that will, that conscious desire to have your Kundalini awakened, then it will happen. And it will always be safe with a guru. Yes, you can awaken your Kundalini. It's like, can you start a fire without a Zippo? Yeah, of course you can. You just got to get some sticks and straws, and you got to get 2 stones and whack them together, right? But you could start a fire. Unfortunately, for Kundalini awakening, there are Kundalini yoga teachers that have been practicing and teaching for 50 years, and their Kundalini is not awakened. Their stones haven't yet sparked the fire, right? There's a number of different sources, scriptural references that talk about guru is the one that opens the Kundalini, that awakens the Kundalini. And from my experience, it happens like that. I didn't do anything. I had no business getting my Kundalini awakened. I didn't earn it at any point. I sat down, meditated with my guru there, and all of a sudden he went, Om Namah Shivaya. And I just felt this spark from the base of my spine shoot up. And I was like, oh, that was my Kundalini awakening. I just knew. And it wasn't anything I did. It's nothing that you have to earn or deserve. It is something that will just happen for you. And when your system is, whatever state your system is in, as long as the guru is awakening it, there's nothing to be worrying about. You're going to be completely fine. So that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Alberto. So with are you going to India to host Grand Paramashivam 2019 in December? I'm not allowed to talk about this. I'm not saying I'm going. I'm not saying I'm not going. But my wife, we did a video recently. Somebody asked me a question, and I was like, "Ooh, should we talk about this?" And my wife said, "No, we should wait." So I'm gonna wait on that one. Thank you for asking that, though. If you don't know what Paramashivoham is, it's the ultimate program, 23-day program happening this year in Bidadi, India, being conducted by my guru, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam. It is the ultimate spiritual happening on the planet. So if you are somebody that's wanting to get your third eye awakened, your kundalini awakened, to express powers of third eye, if you want to get rid of all the toxins within you, if you want to just drop so much, like all the self-doubt in your that's holding you back, if you're somebody that is suffering from depression or self-hatred, ultimately this program is it's like the master key. It unlocks all of those doors. So if you want to experience that, you need to experience Paramashivoham. I could have a whole channel that's actually specifically on Paramashivoham, but we should do some testimonials on this maybe and talk to some people that have been there and had some of these experiences, because it's beyond this world, to say the least. So definitely recommend you taking or experiencing Paramashivoham. Okay, I see that it's 61 minutes and I have just a few more questions. So I'm not gonna take any more questions. So if you ask one more question now, I'm not gonna get to it. The last one will be Drew's, okay? And then I'll let you guys loose and we can all have a nice Saturday. Dell, you're welcome. I really appreciate your support, and I'm grateful to answer and help you out in any way. And that goes for anybody that comes here. I see this as kind of like your time. This is an opportunity for me to help you. So thank you for coming and putting yourself in the position for us to have this conversation. And you're welcome as well, Hansuro. Hey, Eric. Danny, how do we join the Kailash Courtyard sessions? Description. I got to put it in the description box, okay? Right side up, I realized Christ Jesus is the Lord and Savior after visiting Nithyananda in India. It was fun and good experience, but now I am born again follower of Jesus. It's interesting because I have no issues with somebody following Jesus, and you know, like if you want to be Christian, like all the power to you. If you've had an experience of that, I believe that you've had an experience. That being said, I know that Christianity and Hinduism are behind the scenes working together, because this is my own experience. When I was in Alaska, at the beginning of my spiritual awakening, I went to a tarot card reader. Or it wasn't a tarot card reader, it was a psychic. I went to a psychic and she had said, I see this perfectly shaped snowman, which was representing me. Why did it have to be a snowman? I wonder why I was being represented as a snowman. Is it because I'm so white? Maybe. Who knows, right? But she goes, I see this perfectly shaped snowman. And around him, he has this blue scarf. So the scarf is representing you. Sorry. And the snowman was on top of this level, first level. There's 7 different levels, okay? I'm describing this bad. So this snowman is on the first level of 7 different levels. So it's like a triangle-like staircase. And the snowman was on the first level. And the snowman was me. And it represented that I had moved up to this basic level of ascension, the first of seven levels. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And that was like the main thing with the reading. She said the Buddha was there and Jesus was there, and they're all kind of laughing. And I'm presuming that they were laughing because of the snowman thing. I thought that was a bit of a dig. Buddha. No, but so the snowman representing me, I'm on this first level of ascension, and I have this blue scarf. So that was it. That was kind of my reading. And long story short, I ended up going to India. I experienced the Inner Awakening program with my guru. And then at the end of the program, I made my way back to his ashram because it wasn't being conducted in his ashram. I made my way back to his ashram and I did a meditation with somebody. And her name was Clara. And Clara could see things. So she had this divine vision in a sense. And she goes, I see Mother Mary walking up to you. And she's putting this blue scarf around your neck. And I was like, what? How did she know she didn't know. There's no way Clara knew anything about this blue scarf. I didn't tell a single person about the blue scarf reading that I had. And here we are, some months later, I'm in India, in my guru's ashram, at his banyan tree. And this lady says, I see Mother Mary putting a blue scarf around your neck. The divine works in very mystical ways. Whether you're somebody that identifies as a Christian, as a Hindu, whatever your belief system is, the powers that are above us, whether that's Mother Mary, whether it's my guru, whether you connect to Jesus, they don't have their own little playing field. Like they're not competing against one another. It's just one big game for us all to get to higher states of consciousness. And you can connect to the divine in any way that you want. Now, the only thing that I would ask you is to look in and say, is this religion, is this practice empowering me? Is it making me feel more connected to the divine? If it is, then great. Blessings, all the power to you. The only thing is, one of the fundamental differences being taught between Christians and Hindus is that Christians see God as something above and that you are not God. You will never be God and you are a sinner. Whereas Hindus believe that we are the divine. There's no different level. The quality is the same. It's just the quantity is different. A guru is the divine. You can connect to the divine through a guru. So in Hinduism and Christianity, slight differences, but behind the scenes, they are working together, and I can say that from my own experience. So if you're Christian, great. If you're Hindu, I think you're even more blessed. Awesome. Drew, last question. I said Drew would have a last question. Thank you, sir. I've seen some of your real yoga. It seems insanely hard. Reminders for you: 1 Shakti via Zoom, 2 third eye castles, opening leg, 4 hard to. Drew, you're my boy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you're just kind of tuning in, I was saying earlier that I have a lot of descriptions or a lot of things I need to put in the description box. So I appreciate you, Drew. Thank you. And the yoga that I practice physically, it can be challenging, but I'm telling you, I've taught people, one person as old as 70 years old, he climbed this 9-foot tall pole, was sitting on top. He was able to perform what's known as Shivastambha yoga on the pole. I've seen so many people experience, or I should say, not represent, but express. I've seen so many people express some pretty cool abilities, and it is only because of my guru. Honestly, like it has nothing to do with what I taught them. I didn't get this energy within them. It was the Kundalini Shakti. It was this life force energy, just like, imagine it like as your rocket fuel to like fly up the pole. It's an experience like you can't even understand. And that's why I'm always like, it's an experience. I can talk about, my experience of enlightenment, but when you see me just like, it's an experience. It's something for you to experience. And yes, his presence that's what it is, ultimately. It's the divine presence, Paramashiva, my guru. It's just overwhelmingly blissful, joyful, and empowering. So with that being said, I will wrap it up there. 60 It's almost 70 minutes here today. So I appreciate everybody who sat in here and took part. If you want to support this channel, how I would ask you to do that is actually subscribe and just leave a comment and let me know if you enjoyed anything, or if you have any more questions. Maybe I can do a video on it as well. I also I wanted to plug this. I'm going to be releasing a video soon. I've had some problems with Facebook and YouTube lately, and I'm kind of fed up with them, and I'm seeing how this is a major problem for influencers and just the future of social media in general. Everything is centralized. I'm at the whims of YouTube and Facebook, right? So I see the future of video streaming. I've been seeking some stuff out. I see the future of video streaming through the application Library, which is LBRY. So if you're already subscribed, great, I appreciate it. I would actually go and check out Library. If you check out the link in the description, I do get credits for that. That's an affiliate link. So Library works in blockchain technology. So it's decentralized. It means YouTube isn't going to be able to control how people find my videos. I don't have to, be typing in, and ultimately, if you type some things in YouTube or Google, they have the ability to choose to show you something or not. It's unfair. Library, using blockchain technology, is decentralized. It will only show what you're truly authentically wanting to find. So I actually really recommend checking out Library. I'm not at all affiliated to them. I'm not getting paid for this or anything, but they do give you coins, kind of like Bitcoin. And then you can use those coins as rewards to do some other things on the platform. So I'd recommend checking out Library, and you can follow my videos there. So everything that I post on YouTube is actually mapped to Library. So if you wanted to get off of YouTube yourself and just support creators in a different way, download that app, Library, and it'd definitely be a simple way of doing that. So with that being said, I'll wrap it up today. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. This was awesome. Look forward to seeing you guys again next Saturday. I'm thinking about bumping it up to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 11 a.m. is kind of getting late. So I think next week I will do 10 a.m. So be on the lookout for that. And if you're enjoying this content, thank you again so much.